Hey everybody, I have a video here for you today, and I've been asked a few questions on Monk's Mound lately, and that is the largest earthwork found in the United States, coming from ancient times. And I did a video about a year and a half ago on ancient sites found in the US, and I did a video on Cahokia where I mentioned Monk's Mound, but I have not done a specific video on Monk's Mound, so that's what I am doing today. And this is what it looks like from overhead. And I just want to pop down on Street View real quick and just give you a look here. But this is a very impressive earthen pyramid, and there are questions on its age. And if you look around, you might see some different theories that this was made over a couple centuries. And I've got a website here that I will share and leave the link below that says it may have only been built in 20 years, and it gives a date of about 1,000 years ago. And you go over to Monk's Mound World Pyramids story here, and it talks about the limestone slabs used in the mound construction, and that dates it, according to them, anywhere from 3000 to 1000 BC. So sometimes a standard model of history has it right, and sometimes there are questions we should ask about the age of a site. And I think Monk's Mound is one of those sites where we should really ask, how old actually is this site? Were they building pyramids and impressive pyramids like this 1,000 years ago in the United States? Well, that's possible, but there are questions that should be raised. And what I want to do here is just give you some idea of how big this actually is. And I'll just do a couple quick measurements here. We'll do it in meters, but in meters, this is from tip to back here. It's about 300 meters long and wide, roughly 240 meters wide. So that is a huge earthen structure, and they say that the population of Cahokia maybe was 20,000 people. And if this was built over 20 years or in a short time period and the population was 20,000, then each of the citizens would have had to carry about 2,200 basketfuls of soil material. And I said in that previous video on Cahokia that this was made just by carrying basketfuls of earthen soil material. But I guess how this was actually constructed, when I've read some more articles in the previous year after I made that video, they say that what they did is they cut out soil squares, so you had kind of long bricks of soil, and then they turned them upside down and stacked them to make this pyramid. So that was a real good article, and I'll try to leave a link for that below. But that's a very good theory on how this pyramid was built, and I guess that was based on some core samples they took at a side of the deteriorating, I believe this is the west side of the pyramid here, but that seemed to be a pretty good study. But this is a huge pyramid, and I think there are questions that should be raised. And we'll go down here and just take a peek at the top of this pyramid. But about 1,000 years ago, when the city had about 20,000 people or so living in it, according to historians, the king or the head chief had a house up on top of here. And this was the view, and the city here was sprawled out on this side. You can see some mounds here in the background. And back in here, there is a circular formation made with timbers, and it was, I believe, reconstructed. And I made the video I made on Cahokia, I showed you how if you stand in the middle of this circular structure made with timbers and looked out towards Monk's Mound on the spring equinox, you would see the sun popping up over Monk's Mound on the spring equinox from that center of that circular structure built with the timbers. And I will leave the link for this video below. But the spring equinox marked at Cahokia, that's something that comes from a lot of very ancient sites. So I just thought I would mention that. But here is the look from on top of Cahokia, and there was the whole city laid out, and one artist rendition of how this ancient pyramid looked was like this, and I think this is in the form of a turtle, which symbolize creation for a lot of Mesoamerican and Native American groups, and I believe this was very well could have been just Mexico, the very northern branch or northern capital before there was any borders of Mexico and the United States. But it is a fascinating thing to think about how they built this and the manpower and the time it would have taken. And there are just a lot of theories. There are no solid answers. So I thought I would talk about Monk's Mound today. And was this a site where a culture just came along and built on top of some very ancient ruins? Well, that is entirely possible based on some of the materials used to build Monk's Mound. And just across the river is St. Louis with the big archway. And does that actually represent the mounds of this ancient city of Cahokia? I don't think I've ever really looked into that, but just something to think about. But that is the largest earthwork found in the ancient United States. Hope you thought this was interesting, and you all have a nice weekend.